We're your Daily Collegian Football Beat, here to talk about Penn State's next game against Northwestern this Saturday at 7 o'clock. It's at Northwestern, night game. So far, the lone night game that's scheduled this season. Let's get right into it. Pennsylvania guy and quarterback Dan Persa, you want to talk about him, Joe?
Yeah, talked to Dan Persa, have a kind of a feature going in tomorrow. He's fantastic. I mean, from what I talked to, he's a fantastic guy. He's a great quarterback too. I mean, that's obviously the most important part. He's led the entire Big Ten in completion percentage last year. It was around like 73%. That was Northwestern's record. Known for his mobility last year, but not so much this year because of a torn Achilles tendon that he suffered last year. He's played 3 games this year, has around 500 or so, 600 or so passing yards, 5 touchdowns. He's solid. He's a good quarterback, but the thing about Northwestern is they have this backup, Kane Coulter, who's just as dynamic, maybe more so with his legs. He's the leading rusher of Northwestern. He's a guy that can play in this. He plays wide receiver sometimes when when Dan Persa's in a quarterback, he's someone that Penn State's defense is going to have trouble with if they don't lock on him and know where he is at all times.
I think Penn State's defense is going to be fine with a mobile quarterback. I mean, you got so many quick, athletic linebackers. I mean, Gerald Hodges, I feel like if King Coulter or Dan Persa tries to take off, I think Gerald Hodges will be right there to stop him around the edge. And, everybody on the defensive line is so just big and athletic and strong, and they're going to have that strong push against Northwestern's offensive line. I think Persa and Kane are going to have a little bit of trouble trying to scramble against Penn State's defense.
Yeah, and I would think one thing to look out for Penn State is that back against the wall mentality that Northwestern will most likely bring to this game. It's their homecoming, 35-21 last year. Penn State scored 35 unanswered to get Joe Paterno's 400th win. There's so many factors going into this game. Northwestern's lost 4 in a row. They lost 1 to Army. So there's so many factors going into Northwestern outside the actual game that, it's going to pose a definite challenge for Penn State.
Yeah, talking about the attitude Northwestern is going to have in this game, Quinn Barham said in his conference call this week that during practice and leading up to weeks against games where they're going to be in a hostile environment, they'll bring out like 4 or 5 large speakers onto the practice field, and they'll just blast crowd noise as loud as they can just to get ready for that hostile environment. And another big thing they're looking at, this is their only night game this season, and that's something they really look forward to, playing in prime time, playing under the lights. It's kind of indescribable, but there's just a different atmosphere, and these guys they get jacked up to play at night.
And, one thing, if this offense can't score against Northwestern, they have some serious problems. I mean, Northwestern's offense is second to last in the Big Ten. They've let up, I think, 90 points over the last 3 games, all Big Ten games. They're not a very good defense. So, I mean, this is the kind of game that Penn State really wants to get going here. Just kind of like Indiana was, where you thought, Indiana doesn't have a very good defense, but they couldn't get it going against them. So it's kind of another chance for them to redeem themselves and get going against a pretty mediocre offense or defense.
Once again, no Derek Moy this week. A lot of people are talking about the load that South Strad's been carrying, getting a lot of carries so far in the month of October. Might have to be that case again, although Brandon Beecham should be back. He was available last week, I think. I don't know if he actually got action, but they should have Beecham, Dukes, maybe even Stephon Green available to really run up the carries against Northwestern.
Yeah, and I think, like Joe said, this is the game to get the offense rolling. If they don't do it this week, I don't see the offense getting rolling at any point this season against Illinois, Nebraska, Ohio State, or Wisconsin. This has to be the week they do it, and if it's not, it's going to be a lot of trouble to close out the season with those 4.
Ryan, you were mentioning all the options they have in the backfield. Joe, you touched on it, but this is the worst pass defense in the Big Ten. And for a guy like Rob Bolden, who's really been struggling, if you can't hit your receivers and you can't have a better completion than 3 out of 7 against the worst pass defense in the conference, there's serious problems there.
It doesn't get any easier after this. I mean, every single game from now on's pretty much. I mean, you have Illinois, then Ohio State, then Nebraska, right, and then Wisconsin to end out the season. So it's going to get tough. It's not going to get any easier from here. So they have to take care of business this weekend, and then worry about whatever is coming forward.
All right. Well, we got Mike and Joe. They're heading out to Northwestern, so be sure to follow their tweets during the game. PSU Foot Blog. Check blog after game for their thoughts, and we'll see you later next week.